Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us on the program. I'm Amarachi Ubani. Over the last few weeks, Nigerian ambassadors and high commissioners have been presenting their letters of credence to their host countries or leaders of their host countries. Over the last few weeks, nearly 10 of them have presented themselves to their host countries and have hit the ground running. We'll be speaking to one of them in a few minutes. Ambassador Elijah Onyagba is Nigeria's ambassador to the Republic of Burundi. At just 43, the businessman and politician turned diplomat had no ambassadorial experience, but he's well on his way to improving Nigeria's relations with Burundi, one project at a time. And then our hearts go out to the city of Miami, where at least 159 people are still buried under the rubble of a 40-year building that partially collapsed last week. It was not just Americans who were in that building, there were people from other nations as well. And that's Diplomatic Channel in a wrap. Let's check in another diplomatic headlines. We'll be right back. Sudan has promised to surrender former officials wanted for alleged war crimes in the Darfur region to the International Criminal Court, though it has not named the individuals being handed over. Leaders had already promised to surrender former President Omar al-Bashir, who was in power during the conflict, but this has not yet happened. The war in Darfur caused one of the world's worst humanitarian crises in recent years. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken says the United States supports Israel's normalization accords, but that they cannot be a substitute for engaging in issues between Israelis and Palestinians. He made the comments while meeting with Israeli Foreign Minister Yair Lapid in Rome over the weekend, in their first face-to-face meeting since Israel's new government was sworn in 2 weeks ago. Blinken and Lapid said they would also discuss Israel's normalization accords with Gulf Arab states. Blinken said he would be raising the issue of humanitarian assistance into Gaza. Finally, in a sign of strengthening ties between Iraq and Egypt, Baghdad presidency held a lavish ceremony on Sunday to welcome Egypt's President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and Jordan's King Abdullah. It was the first time since former President Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait in 1990 that an Egyptian head of state has visited Iraq. The first Gulf War ruptured diplomatic relations between Iraq and Egypt, but these have improved in recent years, with many senior officials from both countries exchanging visits. Welcome back. Since the month of May, Nigerian ambassadors have been presenting their letters of credence and resuming at their places of assignment. I'd like to give them some real mentions of the program this week. Now, so far, we've had the ambassador designate of Nigeria to Portugal, Ambassador Alex Kefas, who arrived in Lisbon to resume duties as Ambassador Extraordinaire and Plenipotentiary of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to the Republic of Portugal. And to the Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary to the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, with concurrent accreditation to Djibouti, and permanent representative to the African Union and the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, Ambassador Victor Adekunle Adeleke, who presented his letters of credence to Her Excellency, Madam Saleh Work Zewde, the Ethiopian president. Ambassador Ben Okoye made a virtual presentation of copies d'usage to the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs as non-resident ambassador designate of Nigeria to the Republic of Nicaragua. Ambassador Okoye is also the Nigerian ambassador to Cuba, with concurrent accreditation to Bahamas and Honduras. He was Consul General of Nigeria in New York previously. Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan, with concurrent accreditation to the Republic of Iraq, is Ambassador Farouk Malami Yabo. He presented his letters of credence to His Majesty King Abdullah II Ibn al-Hussein of the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan at the Basman Palace in Amman, Jordan. Ambassador Mafwa Abam presented his letter of credence to President Sergio Mattarella of Italy at the Quirinal Palace in Rome. Nigeria's permanent representative of the United Nations office in Geneva and other international organizations, Ambassador Abiodun Richards Adejola, presented his letter of credence to the Director General of the United Nations office in Geneva, Ms. Tatiana Valovaya. Then there is Ambassador Paul Oga Adiku, who presented his letter of credence to the Holy Father, Pope Francis, in the Vatican City. Ambassador Obinna Onowu, who presented his letters of credence to the King of the Belgians, King Philippe I. Ambassador Anderson Madubike presented his letters of credence to the Governor General of the Commonwealth of Australia, the Honourable David Hurley, in Canberra. Ambassador Omar Jebba presented his letters of credence to the Director General of the Department of Protocol of the Kingdom of Thailand, Ms. Chitipat Tongoprasert, at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of Nigeria to Zimbabwe, Ambassador Zachariah Ifu, presented his letters of credence to the President, Emerson Mnangagwa of Zimbabwe. Now, our focus this week, however, is on Nigeria's youngest ambassador, Elijah Onyeagba, who at just 43 is Nigeria's youngest serving ambassador. Ambassador Onyeagba is Nigeria's ambassador to the Republic of Burundi. And before his resumption in late May, he was the APC House of Representatives candidate for Anocha Njikoka Dunukofia Federal Constituency in the last concluded 2019 general elections. He's an economist by training, has an MBA in finance with over 17 years of experience in commercial, corporate, retail, mortgage, banking, real estate, research, marketing, and leadership. Among his many achievements, he's an alumnus of the International Housing Finance Program and securitization of the Wharton Business School in Pennsylvania. He has a master's in applied economics from the American University in Washington, among his many other academic qualifications. I spoke to him a while ago about his new assignment. Let's begin with the obvious. You are quite young, and then you're not a career diplomat, you're not a career ambassador either. How does it feel stepping into the shoes that you occupy now?
Thank you very much, Amarachi. First, I feel very honored and privileged to be called upon by the president to take up the task of diplomacy in a nation like Burundi. I give thanks to God, who obviously rules in the affairs of men. It was his will that, I joined politics. And of course, it is his will that I'm occupying the position I'm occupying now. I come from the corporate background, and I wanted to run to become a member of the House of Representatives. I ran for House of Reps under the APC, and I'm thankful to God for this opportunity. The president called me up and nominated me to become a diplomat, and to that extent, this is what we are doing, and this is where we are right now in Bujumbura, trying to ensure that the foreign policy of Mr. President is strictly adhered to. And of course, we are ready for the challenge. We've prepared ourselves. We've tried to do a little bit of research to understand, what the business of diplomacy is all about. And most importantly, again, is also the fact that I hope and we're working very hard to ensure that after some time, perhaps quite a lot of younger people will begin to be called upon in the business of diplomacy, because it's quite a very interesting assignment. And I can tell you, so far, so good. It's been very good. And we are hoping that at the end of the day, we'll have a good report to give to Mr. President, having carried his assignments as he has instructed us to do.
So you do feel yourself to be a beacon of hope to a generation that's been calling for an opportunity to lead and which is constantly being denied the chance to do so?
Yes, absolutely yes, because I know there's been a lot of agitation in the country of young people saying they want to, be given the opportunity to lead. And part of the responsibility I have is also to prove them right, to be able to put up a good show, to be able to carry myself in such a way that I'll become an example to quite a lot of young people, particularly in this business of diplomacy. What people are usually, what people usually see in this business is a situation where, people use it as some sort of retirement and thereabout. And then for me, it's also something that I'm using to begin, so it's a very big task. And I also do have the responsibility of ensuring that the clamor, the constant agitation by younger people to get into governance, it's that responsibility that I carry. And I do hope that at the end of the day, Mr. President and indeed indeed quite a lot of leaders at every level will begin to see reasons why the younger people should also get involved in governance.
Well, since you had to prepare for this role, could you talk us through how you prepared to become ambassador after you were nominated?
Oh, yes. Incidentally, after I was nominated, I took some time to speak to a lot of career ambassadors, people that have done the business over the years, both at multilateral level and at bilateral level. So I spent some time at the NIIA in Lagos. I was with the DG of NIIA. He took me through quite a lot of, literature on what diplomacy is about, the business of diplomacy. I bought as many as 20 books from the place that I've been trying to study to get myself acquainted with what the business of diplomacy is all about. And, this job, sometimes experience is very important. And,
It is.
I also got back to Ministry of Foreign Affairs, tried to engage with a lot of people that are at the ministry, from the minister to the Minister of State to the permanent secretary to the directors, and indeed to quite a lot of ambassadors that have done this job. And they've mentored me a lot. They've, even at this point in time, I still call upon them to ask how this is done and how this is done. And I think that that's a very good way of starting something that is very new to you. And I can tell you their guidance has been superb. I think, among myself, I think I'm the first or the second person that have submitted the letters of credence. And I think that the advice and the guidance that they've given me so far has proved very helpful, in my trying to discharge, my duty as an ambassador of the Republic of Nigeria.
I think it's great that you're reaching
So
out,
that's
to
one
senior
part.
colleagues. Yeah, go on.
Yes, that's on the one part. On the other hand, is that I also, I'm an economist by training, and in my in my work while I was a banker, I spent quite a lot of time in business schools, all discussing business, discussing policy making. I mean, I had my PhD in public policy. So, the business of governance, the business of making policies, even at international level, is also something I'm very, very familiar with. So, to that extent, academically, I believe I had the wherewithal to also take up this responsibility. And what was probably lacking is the experience to be able to carry out the job. But I think that the mentorship I've received from the senior citizens, if you like, has actually been very helpful in trying to, set me up to be able to carry on as an ambassador.
Well, a great thing you're not isolating yourself, from those who have gone ahead of you. For example, Burundi is, quite a peculiar situation. I don't think I've ever spoken, to an ambassador to Burundi in a long while. I think Nigeria hasn't really had, a clear-cut relationship with Burundi. But this is a country that is rich in mineral resources. As far as we know, we've been reading about the poverty in the country, despite the mineral resources that it is sitting on, as well as the political instability. Now, I've heard you talk about the strengthening of trade ties between Nigeria and Burundi. How do you intend to do that?
Oh, thank you very much. Incidentally, the Nigeria mission in Burundi was opened in 2007. And they also came to Nigeria to open their mission. So from 2007 till now, we've had about 4 chargé d'affaires. And we've also had about 1 ambassador before me. So I'm actually the 2nd ambassador. The mission was just recently upgraded to an ambassadorial level from a CDA level. So that's why I'm here in the first instance. And it's not true that Nigeria and Burundi hasn't done quite a lot. From the things I could see, there was a very good relationship between Nigeria and Burundi there has been actually from the time of Obasanjo as president. I know at the time they had a very good G2G, what they call government to government business. Nigeria was supplying crude oil to Burundi at the time and has also assisted Burundi in very many ways. At some point, some sort of, they called for donor, and then at some point again, their market got burnt, and Nigeria constantly tried to help them. And the idea for the president at the time was to ensure that we maintain close ties with African countries, because these relationships helps you in so many ways. It can help you in voting at the African Union, and it can help you at the United Nations when you're looking for one office or the other, United Security Council, and all sorts of positions that are available at international level. So that's actually what Nigeria have done over the years. And again, the foreign policy of Mr. President, and indeed the other presidents before now, has been very clear with Africa. The foreign policy basically hinges on African unity. So that's why sometimes, presidents have clearly gone out of their way to ensure that they maintain a very close relationship between Nigeria and African countries. And then coming to Burundi, yeah, they had their issues like every other nation will have. I think, even in 2015, they had quite a lot of challenges, going back to the war with Rwanda and all of that. But it's actually a nation that has tried to negotiate, tried to have come through all of those issues, and at the moment, they are very politically stable.
What exactly can Nigeria gain from the Burundi market?
Well, it's very interesting because Burundi, from what I see, is like the Switzerland of Africa. Burundi is a hub. Burundi sits on about 27,000 square kilometers, but very close to Congo DRC, which have got a very big market. After Nigeria, the next populated country in Africa is DRC. They are also very close to Rwanda. They are also very close to Tanzania. They are also very, there's a region that they call the Great Lakes region. So it's like a hub, and they do quite a lot of mining. They do quite a lot in export of tea as well. So I believe that for some of the products that are manufactured in Nigeria, the creative industry, for example, which is one of Nigeria's biggest exports to the world, we are looking at trying to also see if we can have partnership in the creative industry, so we can set up a hub here that can service the entire of the East Africa. East Africa, from Ethiopia to Kenya to Uganda, all of these countries are closely knitted. They call themselves the East African community, the EAC community. So Nigeria will be able to take advantage of investment opportunities here in health, in agriculture, because incidentally, I can tell you, Amarachi, this country is food sufficient. With all of the crises that they've been through, they've also managed to feed themselves because, they grow quite a lot of fruits, bananas, oranges, apples, and all of that. All of these actually grow very well here. And even the scenery is quite beautiful. So even people, Nigerians that are doing all of this are Nollywood, music and all of that, you can shoot good videos here. What you see in Hollywood is a situation where they go to islands to be able to have a very good scene, to be able to, shoot their movies. That can also happen in Burundi. So we are actually pretty much open on all frontiers. We are hoping that Nigerian businessmen and women, by the time we do the Joint Commission, we'll also be looking at Chamber of Commerces to be able to see areas of investment and areas of partnership, so that at the end of the day, we'll be able to achieve, what the AFTA is about, which is basically to allow for free trade, free movement of goods and services within the African continent. The things that are produced in Nigeria can come into Burundi and be sold here, and the things that are produced in Burundi can also come into Nigeria and be sold there. They are very good with tea and they're very good with coffee. And I'm quite sure that, things like, investment in agriculture, trying to convert those raw materials into finished products, tomato paste, all kinds of juices are the kind of things that will be able to thrive in this market, I believe. And the truth again is that, yeah, it's a hub. The market is across, they sit in the center where they can actually service all of the rest of the East African community across the Great Lakes region.
Wow, you have completely sold the whole country, to Nigerians. I mean, especially for those who had very little idea, of what it's like there. But I know it's only been a few weeks since you resumed, at your place of assignment. But have you had the opportunity to meet with the Nigerian community there, and what exactly are their concerns?
Oh, yes, we have. I met with the executives, and I'm also looking forward to meeting with the entire Nigerian community that are here. As a matter of fact, they were handy the first day I arrived to receive me. They are not much at the moment because Nigerians in Burundi were, I think they started living during the political crisis of 2015. And, from then till now, there are just a few of them. We have a few Nigerian churches here, not even few. We have about 4 or 5 churches of Nigerian, part of the things we export to the world is also the churches. Some of the Pentecostal churches are here. And there's some students also here at the same time, and then a few business people. So I've met with them. Their concerns are basically consular issues, which we always try to address at every particular point in time. And they don't have issues. The concern basically is the security situation in the country, which, my responsibility is also to try to assure them that government is doing everything possible to ensure that there's normalcy in the land. So we are getting to know each other. And then we are also hoping that more Nigerians will also come into Burundi because it's quite a peaceful country. And when I was also selling Burundi to you or talking about it, I also didn't talk about tourism. This is a huge tourism destination. The source of the River Nile is in this country. They've got beautiful waterfalls. They've got beautiful coastal lines. They've also got some beautiful restaurants and hotels. And like I said, you should try to come to Burundi and you will like the view. If you don't like it, don't believe me again tomorrow. But it's actually it's actually something I think that Nigerians that love holiday or that like to try to visit Africa, some of the funds that we throw away, going to the West, going to the Europe, can also be spent within the African continent. And if we do that in partnership with also trade, within ourselves, I believe that the African continent will be the better for it.
Ambassador Elijah Onyango, this has been a real pleasure. You have sold Burundi, and I'm sure you're also selling Nigeria there, to Burundians. And I can tell already you're off to a great start, as an ambassador, as well as Nigeria's representative to the country. Thank you again for speaking with me on Diplomatic Channel, and I wish you well in your term.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Amarachi.
The death toll is still rising from the scene of the Miami building collapse, with more than 150 people still missing. Rescuers are doing everything possible to either recover bodies or survivors.
Rescuers continue their search over the weekend to find the more than 150 residents amid the rubble of the condo building that collapsed days ago, as questions arise about the tower's structural integrity. Officials say they harbor some hope that those unaccounted for might be alive. Aided by dogs, infrared scanning and heavy equipment, they hope that people can survive in air pockets that may have formed in the debris. A 2018 report showed that an engineer found evidence of major structural damage beneath the pool deck and concrete deterioration in the underground parking garage of the 12-story oceanfront condo. Residents who made it out alive remain fearful for family members not yet found.
They were in their unit. I'm sure asleep in their beds when it collapsed. They were just the tower went down.
Alberto Aguero, his wife and 2 children were vacationing in his parents' apartment this week when they were startled awake by what they felt like an earthquake. His wife, Janet, immediately said they should leave, but Albert thought they were safer inside the building. Unsure of what to do, the couple went out of the balcony, where they called out to firefighters who had flooded the area.
My son says he heard 3 distinct sounds, because the first one was very minor. The second one was the shaking of the balcony doors, and we thought it was just a bad thunderstorm. And then the third one was the real big explosion that woke us up. At that point, everything shook.
But I don't think we understand the severity of it until we walked into the hallway. So we walked into the hallway right where the elevator would be, and once you turn left, you realize that the apartment next to you is basically gone. It has to be. Their door was caved in. You could see out into the ocean basically from the top part of the building. And the elevator shaft is gone.
It was not just Americans residing in the collapsed part of the building. Among those missing are the sister and brother-in-law of Paraguay's First Lady, Silvana Lopez Moreira, who were staying with their 3 children in the building. Moreira and her husband were in the U.S. to receive COVID-19 vaccination. Moreira's nanny is also missing. Also is the first cousin of the former Chilean president and UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Michelle Bachelet's father. 6 Colombian citizens are unaccounted for following the collapse. 6 Venezuelans living inside the building have not yet been located. Some members from the Shul of Baal Harbor synagogue are still missing. 3 Uruguayan citizens are also missing, among many others. U.S. President Joe Biden has approved an emergency declaration for Florida, meaning the federal management agency will help state agencies with relief efforts.
I promise you, the administration, the Congress are doing everything possible to be of assistance now and after this occurs.
And that's the program. I'm glad you could join us. Remember, you can reach me on any of my social media handles except Twitter. You can also watch this and other editions of the program on channelstv.com. I'll see you next time.